Saints moved back into second place with a decent win at bottom club Rotherham United. Alfie, you were there covering that game for the Echo. Was it as comfortable as it sounded?
Yeah, I think it probably was, to be fair. Gavin Bazunu made a decent save at the end of either half, but other than that, he wasn't really tested at all. And obviously, Bednarek gave the side a perfect start on his 200th appearance. And I think, to be fair, Ryan Fraser basically won the game in the first sort of 35 minutes because it was him that was constantly peppering down the left. And then obviously a brilliant set for Adam Armstrong with his second as well. And I think it probably should have been 3-0 at half time, to be honest with you, because Will Smallbone had one that was saved by Johansson. I mean, that Johansson for Rotherham, I'm sure we'll get onto him, but he is excellent. And if any Premier League team wants a backup goalkeeper next season, I would be 100% going for him if he's available, because both games, St. Mary's and now at New York, he's been fantastic. But yeah, the second half, it was dull. It wasn't entertaining at all, but they didn't need to be. They were 2 goals up. They were cruising, and I think the packed away end sort of kept themselves entertained. I think from the 63rd minute onwards, it was basically 23 undefeated without stopping for the entire time. So yeah, another 3 points. Comfortable. They're not a very good side, and they're in a bit of trouble. I think their home support sort of reflected that, because it wasn't a brilliant atmosphere from everywhere else in the stadium.
Glenn, is it fair to say this was justice for Russell Martin after that draw earlier in the season, perhaps? Because that we spoke about this last week. That was one of the games that frustrated him immensely, and you kind of felt like if we got a decent win or at least 3 points, he would be able to get that out of his system.
Yeah, I'm not sure justice is the right word. Maybe a bit of redemption. He obviously took this one very seriously because, the result against them earlier on in the season bothered him. So yeah, I think he would have been happy. It was interesting that we came up with a new kickoff routine right from the start, which had obviously been unveiled specifically for this game. And it was all about getting the first goal today and then keeping going in exactly the way that we did in the first game. So as I said, he obviously really, really wanted to win this game, probably more so than any other game because of how much it keeps bothering him. I mean, Alfie's mentioned it quite a few times that he will randomly bring up the Rotherham game in press conferences when he's not asked about it.
It's not just us, is it? No, he keeps on bringing it up. It's almost
absolutely
he won't let us forget it.
Yeah, because that was the time when his old philosophy. We played well enough. We had 90% possession or whatever, and we ended up only getting 1 point. So that was the time it didn't work out for him. But I mean, we were warned there would be days like that when he became our manager. But thankfully, recently at least, or since that game, there haven't been too many of them. So happy days, and it was comfortable against what I thought were basically Rotherham were like a pub team, really. I thought they were a pub team with a world-class goalkeeper playing as a ringer. That's what it reminded me of. There's a temptation when you get a little bit older to look back at football in the old days and get a bit nostalgic about, football used to be better. But, I mean, it was Tranmere Rovers in the League Cup, wasn't it, with the centre-half going up to take throw-ins from both sides and just launching missiles into the box. It was just... They were rubbish, really, and they won't be a loss to the Championship when they inevitably go down. I mean, most teams try and play some football, at least try and play. But I don't think I've seen a team that attempted even to play less than Rotherham did. So, but it could have been tricky. But we've learned we're a better team now than we were back then, and got the job done.
Steve, you were there yesterday. I mean, what was it like? Good atmosphere. I mean, they've ground out some results, haven't they? So really, you kind of go, it's a good win away from home again.
Yeah, it was a potential banana skin, given, as you say, their record against the other good sides. Ipswich and Leeds have gone away with only a point. Middlesbrough got beat. Leicester needed an injury time winner. So, yeah, to have got it done in such comfortable fashion. I mean, I think that partly that's reflective of the fact that Rotherham have now been kind of cut adrift a little bit, and there's less hope for them, really. So they don't kind of go into games with the same gung-ho sort of attitude against these against the bigger sides that they perhaps did earlier in the season. But yeah, as mentioned, that kickoff routine, we were on it from literally the first kick, and I mean, we score in the 4th minute, and yet you could justifiably say that goal had already been coming. It was no surprise when the ball hit the back of the net, and yeah, we just did our jobs. Little fuss. I mean, the pitch was tacky, to say the least. Ball bobbling up off people's shins all the time, and it looked difficult to keep possession at times. But we kind of worked the ball into space and allowed runners to kind of negate the pitch conditions, so that we weren't trying to always play pretty triangles in the toughest parts of the pitch. We were actually looking for the ball kind of through the channel and in behind a lot. And obviously Ryan Fraser had a whole lot of success in the first half hour, 40 minutes of the game through doing that. Second half was, I mean, as Alfie said, was a bit of a non-event really. Could still have scored a couple, but yeah, just saw the game out with a minimum of fuss really.
The second half was an interesting one, wasn't it, Alfie? I mean, what was it for you when it kind of like went off the boil a bit? Was it a case of job done, or was it having to deal with Rotherham and the way they play? How come the effort just kind of like dropped in the second half a bit?
Yeah, well, I don't think Russell Martin would refute that the effort dropped in the second half. I think the entertainment dropped in the second half because the game was won. I think Southampton were quite happy to control the ball a little bit. It picked up again when David Brooks came on, obviously, and Joe Rothwell. They both did their jobs off the bench, and David Brooks got people excited with a couple of touches, nutmegs, and I think he should have had assist actually. Because it was a great ball across for Sekou Mara. So I think we could have been sat there saying that it was 3 or 4-0, and they scored a couple of goals in the second half as well. But I think Steve mentions the pitch wasn't fantastic. I think the players sort of reported back to Russell that they didn't really enjoy playing on it, but there was quite a funny sort of interaction between one of the Yorkshire-based journalists and Russell Martin at full time in the press conference, because Russell sort of made a passing comment that the pitch wasn't the best, and they came back with it was actually voted the best pitch of the Women's Euros last summer. They played games at Aston Villa and Wembley, I think, as well, but it was voted the best pitch of Rotherham, but that was a long time ago. I think Russell was just saying, no, I didn't mean any offence, but today it was clearly not the best. So yeah, I think that probably played a part as well. But at the end of the day, when you're 2 goals up and you're 23 games unbeaten, I don't think it matters if it's a bit of a non-event.
No, absolutely. Let's just chat about the goals. Glenn, I mean, perfect start. Bednarek as well. His 200th game for the club. They were some neck muscles to get that in. That was a great header. That just what we needed at 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be one of those ones where I'm not sure if Adam Armstrong gets the assist again, because it's kind of hit him.
Hits his knee, didn't it?
Yeah. Hits his knee, loops up in the air, and Bednarek from a standing jump. It's actually a really good header. Just places it past the goalkeeper. I mean, it's amazing that he didn't actually save it, because he saved everything else virtually. But no, it was a good header. It's interesting to hear Russell Martin say afterwards that they've been on at Bednarek about scoring more goals, because he doesn't score enough for a guy of his size. And he had a little run sort of 2 or 3 years ago where he scored 3 or 4 goals in about sort of 15 games or something. But he's not looked dangerous at all this season. It's mainly been Harwood Bellis who's looked like the threatening one at that end of the pitch. So no, fair play to Bednarek. I didn't realise it was his 200th game, but it's a nice way to mark it, and he deserves it, to be honest. I thought, just generally a performance, I thought he was excellent as usual. I thought him and Harwood Bellis were both excellent. Sort of 100% performances, pretty faultless, really. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, that centre back pairing and Flynn Downs and Bazunu doing the business behind, that's the sort of spine of the team defensively that will get us promoted if it sticks together and keeps playing the way it is. So yeah, happy days. But it's always nice for the centre halves to get a goal themselves, because I'm sure they trundle up the pitch plenty of times during the game and don't get anywhere near it. So it's nice when one comes off.
I do think in many respects that he looks like he's the captain on the pitch. I know Adam Armstrong's obviously got the armband, but Jan is the man leading. He's got Taylor helping him as well. But I noticed that Harwood Bellis obviously has this like diagonal chipping wedge of a ball, which is just 100% faultless every single time. But Jan Bednarek's got his own little bit of a trademark, like a low drive down the left-hand side into Ryan Fraser's feet where he can sort of spin and play one as well. I noticed he did it a couple of times yesterday. It's a simple pass, but it's just Russell Martin pointed out that it's just that bravery of, he's so important off the ball as well, but on it, bringing the ball out and playing it and, sort of turning defence into attack very quickly.
Am I right in thinking
it's
you got a 10 out of 10 in your ratings for the
Yeah,
the
Bednarek did. Yeah. I mean, there's a rule that you don't really give 10 out of 10s in football ratings, but at the end of the day, when someone's scored a goal, they've had, however many defensive actions, they've kept a clean sheet. What more can you give them?
Go on, Glenn. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I can't remember.
Well, that important.
Oh no, yeah, I can. Yeah, Bednarek and his passing. It's something that we never really thought he had in his locker.
Mm.
He was always one that you thought when Russell Martin came in, you thought Bednarek might struggle a little bit because he's not the best on the ball. He used to think he was similar to, I don't know, like Salisu was, where you kind of, okay, they're all right defensively, but can they pass the ball? And yeah, I know it's at a lower level in the Championship, but he's proved more than capable this season. And I think Alfie said last week he's the one that seems to have more touches than anybody in terms of being the one who tries to break the lines, and he's more likely to do it along the ground as well. So yeah, fair play to him. And he slotted in playing that left hand side as well, because previously he virtually always played on the right. But he's obviously comfortable playing on the other side as well. So all good.
Let's talk about the other goal, Steve. I mean, Adam Armstrong with the goal, but that was kind of made by, well, obviously the chip over the top and Ryan Fraser. It was a thing of beauty to watch that back on the highlights. Yeah,
I've seen comparisons with that ludicrous, quite famous Guti assist for Real Madrid. I think it was against Deportivo La Coruña back in the day. I mean, it must be going back 25 years now. But it wasn't quite at that level, was it? Let's be brutally honest. But no, it was really well worked, and to have that awareness and know where Armstrong is kind of going to be running from. I mean, obviously he'd have got a shout for it, but to kind of still manage to lay it off perfectly into his path. I mean, I don't think it's the best of finishes in all honesty. The keeper has actually made a bit of a pig's ear of that one.
Did he hit it too well?
No, he's not hit it at all well. He's scuffed it, if anything. But it's but I think the keeper's expecting a hard finish, and he's just kind of dived over the top of it a little bit, really. But yeah, that's really, really well worked. What's that? 15 goals for the season, potentially 12 assists if we're giving him the first goal. So yeah, let's credit where it's due. 27 goal involvements in February is fairly ridiculous.
And obviously a debut for David Brooks. Did you see enough yesterday, Alfie, to get excited about what that might hold for the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, I think to be fair, we saw enough last Thursday to be excited about it, because we played however many, was it 90 or 70 minutes against Swansea Championship side, and was unbelievable. So I think we know
the cup game for Bournemouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think we knew that he would come in and be sharp and be ready. But I think it's I mentioned, obviously, sort of in the opening segment, but saying that his first two touches were to flick the ball over someone's head and then nutmeg somebody else. And you just think, well, there's a player here, and he looks sharp. He's got a bit of a job getting into the team, although I think he could well be a top Championship player. He's going to have to displace Adam Armstrong, because Russell Martin told us on Friday he sees him as a bit of a specialist in the number 7, the right-hand side. So although we sort of think that he can probably play in a 10 and maybe he can play off the left as well, we saw that he actually moved Adam Armstrong to the other side to accommodate David Brooks coming in. And realistically, I don't think you're going to be moving Adam Armstrong out of his preferred position all too often, if I'm being honest. But he's going to be an important player. Obviously, they've got so many games coming up. It's just a shame that he's cup tied already, so he can't play 90 minutes on Tuesday and sort of get a couple of goals and show everybody what he's about.
He's not going to walk into the team, though, is he, Glenn? And I think when he did his interviews, he kind of admitted that, I've come here, I want to get some minutes, but I know that I've got to earn it and take every opportunity that I get.
Yeah, you're always a little bit worried when loan players come in that there's some sort of guaranteed minutes. I know, as Steve said last week, that tends to be younger players that happens for. But yeah, the good thing about Brooks is I'm not remotely worried that he's going to upset any sort of like harmony in the squad, because he just seems like, a top guy. And the key line for me when he said, I've got to try and earn some minutes, whereas, implying that he knows it isn't going to be easy. He's coming into a side that's 20 whatever games unbeaten. So It's not as if we're struggling. It's not like, you know, Holgate's gone to Sheffield United and they're desperate, so he's going to play and lose 5-0. But
two 5-0 debuts. What a season!
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, you know, so it's not like that. He's coming into a team that's going very well. So, so the more I thought about that one, I just think you can't have too many good players, and he can slot in elsewhere as Adam Armstrong can. So he will get minutes. Whether he starts many games, I don't know. I think Brooks sees it as that he'll play more, get more minutes playing for us than he was getting for Bournemouth, and Rothwell's probably the same. It was interesting that Rothwell looks a little bit better. I'm still not convinced, and we'll come on to Charlie Alcaraz later, I'm sure. But I mean, but with regards to Brooks, he's obviously a very good player at this level, and it's similar to Ryan Fraser really, in that there's a Premier League level player there, and for different reasons they've got to fight to get into the team, and they've got to prove what they're about. And if he's half as successful as Fraser has been, then it's going to be a good time for everybody.
Just a word on the league position before we move on, Steve. I mean, we're second for the first time on merit, played one game less than Leeds. I think, for me, the Ipswich result was the one that I was following more closely yesterday. That seemed to be a bit more significant than ours. As you mentioned, Leicester are they've just got that ruthlessness at the moment. But is there now that added pressure that comes with being second? We've been chasing Ipswich. Now we're in that position. The pressure's on us all of a sudden.
I mean, maybe. I genuinely don't know whether the team and management take that much notice. I mean, they'll kind of. I mean, let's be honest. They'll say, "Oh, we don't look at the league table. We're just taking it one game at a time. You can only concentrate on doing your own thing," which is all kind of true and fair. But I mean, I'm sure it'd be a little bit weird if people weren't looking and seeing kind of what the context of each result was, and whether it was giving you any breathing room. And Ipswich have finally kind of put in one of those, by all accounts, that their first half was just one of those performances where they were just an absolute mess. And yeah, I mean, they fought back second half. Kiefer Moore was quite key to their sort of near comeback in the second half. So that's going to be one to watch out for, that loan signing, because I think he might have a good impact for them. But yeah, we've taken advantage, and we're it's now our position to kind of fortify. Really, just got to keep ploughing away.
I did see someone joking yesterday that the Leeds fans know our fixture list better than we do. They've been quoting who we've got to play and when we've got to play them and where we've got to go to, and the results that have come against the top sides and those that haven't. So we shall see. Nevertheless, clean sheet, no injuries, and onto the cup. I just want to do the rounds for Player of the Week. I guess, Alfie, if you've given someone a 10 out of 10 in your newspaper, then there's only one person you can really nominate.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of 9s as well, I think. But yeah, I mean, for me, Jan Bednarek, he's the leader on the pitch. He's just so important to his team, and he was absolutely immense yesterday. So yeah, for me, Jan Bednarek. We'll
put Bednarek down first. Glenn, any other standouts for you?
Ryan Fraser, just for his. I love the run for the second goal. He looks to make that run all the time. He sort of takes a couple of steps across and then darts in behind. He always seems to time it well. So you look at him and you think he must be offside, but he obviously isn't on a number of occasions. In fact, I don't remember him getting caught offside. He just seems to time that really well. So I'd say he was definitely worth a shout, and probably a bit unsung. But I thought Will Smallbone played well again. I think he's putting together a string of decent performances now. I think the last 3 times he's forget the Watford Cup game. He was okay in that, but I think the last 3 league performances he's been decent. So
he made a run through the channel at pace, which is like,
I know.
I've not seen you do this before. This is new.
He was unlucky not to score, wasn't he?
That was a great save. Absolutely ridiculous save.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
great
interestingly, Russell Martin said to me in the press conference after that he's never seen sort of Will Smallbone, I guess, sort of training so well, training so hard, sort of performing so well since Joe Rothwell came in. He really thinks that addition has that's obviously lifted his levels. I mean, he would say that wouldn't need to sort of back up his transfer, but it was a comment that he made sort of unprovoked.
Steve, anybody else you want to add to the list?
I thought Stu Armstrong was very good for an hour. He seemed to be the one that tired the most obviously, and yet we left him on the whole game, which I found a little bit odd. But yeah, first hour he was everywhere, constantly involved, and yeah, he's just the glue that kind of links all the little different creative parts of the team together. Just makes it tick. So yeah, I'll go for him again.
All right, we'll get that poll on social media in just a bit.